This is Karen Ranzi, and today I have a couple with me, Debbie and Danny, and we have an incredible healing story here from coronavirus, healing, natural healing with raw food, with the raw food lifestyle and other natural protocols. So, Danny, can you tell us what exactly happened?
Well, we were down in Florida, and I thought I had allergies, but it ended up I had a sore throat, and I was feeling very tired. And in the evening, I would have coughing fits and shortness of breath, and my fever spiked up to about 102, 103, and my wife took care of me, yeah, especially on the way home from Florida. My symptoms were accompanied by the fever, as I said, and a dark orange urine. And I also had a loss of equilibrium, probably lasted about 2 weeks after the disappearance of the strongest symptoms. But that about sums it up.
Wow. The shortness of breath and the problems with equilibrium must have been scary for you.
More irritating than scary. I just I'd hold on to the banister when I went up the steps and things like that. And that lasted about a week and a half after the symptoms disappeared.
Mm-hmm. And you were sure that this was coronavirus, what you had?
Yes, I was tested when I got back, and it was coronavirus.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about the protocol? Now, Debbie, who's actually a student who had taken my raw food certification course and has become very knowledgeable about raw food. It's wonderful that she was there for Danny. So, Debbie, can you tell us what exactly you followed through with to help Danny?
Well, as you know, when he was so sick in the hotel on the way back from Florida, with the fever and everything, and I knew he had it because of his breathing and his coughing and his fatigue. And in the morning, I was just all through the night. I was really so frightened that he was not going to make it because his breathing was just so shallow and strange. So in the morning, all night long, and in the morning we were doing water with fresh lemon squeezed into it, and his urine was still dark. And so we switched over from his SAD diet to the raw vegan diet as soon as we could, and which consisted of mainly lots of melons and fruits and ripe juicy vegetables, grapes. When we got back home, I started incorporating smoothies. Every afternoon he enjoyed his celery juice for the thirst that he had, because he was always very thirsty in the afternoon, and the celery juice was the only thing that really helped with that. So I was juicing a whole head of celery for him every day.
Wonderful.
So he was staying
and
very
I'm assuming
hydrated.
that you didn't have that much of an appetite, Danny.
No, not at that point, no.
Yeah, so these were probably, because they're so watery and they just digest easier, it was probably easier for you to eat those anyway.
Right.
Yeah. And so what else did you do?
We did some lung cupping. A friend of mine who's a nurse recommended I do that for him, which, I banged with the palms of my hands into his lower back, pushing upwards into his lungs to break up any mucus that would harden in the bottom of his lungs, because that seems to be a problem with this virus. So, and then also as soon as he was well enough, I, introduced him to rebounding. So he was bouncing on the rebounder for as long as he could, just to get his lymphatic system moving to move anything out of there that needed to be moved around.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. And so it was the raw food, and you said melon and grapes and celery juice. These were some of the main healing foods.
And I did incorporate dark leafy greens into his smoothies, so he would be getting more minerals and vitamins.
Minerals, very important. and the rebounding for increasing digestion and improving the lymphatic system. And that's really interesting what you said about the cupping. That's great. That's something that most people don't know about.
No, I wouldn't have known about it if my friend didn't tell me.
Yeah. And so, you said that you were really scared that, you didn't want to go to a hospital. You were afraid that you might lose him. When did you see like a turning point?
It was weeks. It was weeks. He had such extreme fatigue. I mean, the fever didn't come back. He only had the fever for 24 hours. And we just kept him hydrated through that. And during that time, that was early on when this virus was publicly known. And they were saying, don't come to the hospital if you have symptoms or a fever. Do it over the phone, blah, 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 blah. And so here we are in a different state in a motel room. And I was just scared to death. But when we came home, he started improving, but the fatigue lasted for weeks. I mean, I would take him for a ride when he felt better just to get him out of the house. And we weren't in the car 2 minutes and he was already asleep. He slept for most of the ride.
According to her.
He couldn't stay awake. He was sleeping like 12 hours a night, and then he was sleeping all day long. He was probably up maybe 4 hours all day.
Yeah. But your body was doing what it needed to do.
Yeah, he needed the rest that he was getting.
Definitely. Wow. And so it was a process, and it took a good period of time. And you were telling me something about the urine and the difference in the urine through this whole thing, through this whole situation.
After you started eating all the fruit, what happened?
It got a lot lighter. I'm peeing my brains out.
And he was complaining because I have to go to the bathroom again. I was like, well, that's what you're supposed to do, because he never did before.
Yeah. And so it's, we're actually supposed to pee at least like 9 times a day. Some people don't pee at all. They'll go for a whole day without peeing, or pee once and think that that's enough.
Exactly.
4 or 5 was a lot for me.
Yeah. And so you started to pee because you were eating all this like really water-rich food. And that's great. And all this natural food too. And so what were the first signs of healing?
I guess the cough started subsiding. He had sinus, he had congested sinus, and the neti pot was helping with that. He was doing that like 3 times a day. So that was helping with that. That started getting better, I guess, first.
So can you tell us what the neti pot did?
Just rinsed his sinus. It's like a nasal rinse for the sinuses to help clear it out so, it can heal. So he was doing that as often as he needed to do that, sometimes 3 times a day. So I guess that was the first thing to get better. And then the coughing started getting better. And I did an interesting experiment with him when he was, almost healed. The cough was gone pretty much. And so I said, let's introduce a little bit of dairy and to show you something. So we had some gluten-free pizza with a little bit of cheese on it. And the next morning he woke up coughing. And it was proof to him that diet really plays a major part in our health.
Yes. And dairy is such a mucus-forming food that right away when you got healthy, you reacted to that.
Correct.
So that shows the power of healing with raw food. That's excellent. Really excellent. So, wow, thank you. And we could see from this that it was the nourishment that you were getting through the raw food. It was the rebounding, the sleep, because sleep is so important. And especially in this situation for healing. And certainly some of these other things that you did, Debbie, with the cupping and just really being there for him. I think that's really crucial as well. So, wow, that's wonderful, Danny. I'm so glad that you healed.
Thank you.
And Debbie, you did a great job being there for Danny and helping him through this process. And it's really exciting to let people know about this.
It certainly is. And we're so happy to be able to share this with everyone.
Yes. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.